Let's get right to our next guest. Taking time out from a busy day, Congressman Levin. He's from the 12th Congressional District of Michigan. He's, in fact, the ranking Democrat on the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, welcome.
Glad to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you. And there's so many things we want to talk to you about. But I guess for starters, your support for the president's steps to reduce payroll taxes and in part pay for them by increasing taxes on wealthier Americans, whatever you want to call that category of people. This seems to be that part of it, the latter part, the most contentious thing that you're going to face in Congress.
Right, you faded just a bit. I think I heard the last part of it. No, we've got to pay attention to jobs. We've got a record number of long-term unemployed in this country. There are 14, 15 million people laid off, and a good number of them having been unemployed for more than 6 months. So our focus needs to be on jobs, and the president has proposed some ideas that should help create jobs and to help pay for that. And those who are very wealthy, who've done the very best in general in this country the last decade, need to share in this effort. That's what this is all about.
What part of this do you most support? A tax on Americans making more than $1 million a year, or a tax rescinding the tax cuts for people making more than $250,000, which by rescinding the cuts would, many say, would be an increase?
Well, you know, the analysis that was done in my request by Joint Tax indicated that the vast majority of the income over $250,000 a year is income over $1 million. This is for people who file jointly. 75-80% is income over $1 million, and I think that should be the major focus, and that is the focus of the president's Warren Buffett tax, as he's labeled it.
Now, if your Republican counterparts have said that they will oppose tax increases of just about any kind, should we take them at their word? Is there any chance of compromise on that one key part of this?
I think the main chance of compromise is for these issues to be highlighted for the American people and for Americans to respond and to make it clear that they want action, and action has to include everybody. We need to try to pay for it, and that the very wealthy who've done very well in general should step up to the plate. And the data are clear as to who's benefited. Since 1996, for example, the median income for middle-class families has been stagnant, while those in the upper income brackets in general, overall, have done very, very well. So there needs to be a balanced approach to this, revenues as well as spending cuts, and balanced in the sense as to who essentially participates. And I think the very wealthy need very much to participate. They've gained, in general, very much the last 10 years or so, while the middle-income families have been essentially stationary.
Well, Congressman Levin, and I want to underscore this is Congressman Levin, a Democrat from Michigan. Again, what can get passed? The super committee of 12 is trying to hammer something out. There has to be something in place that everyone agrees to, or there's some big automatic cuts. Are you concerned about that happening if Republicans are on one side and Democrats on the other?
Now, of course I'm concerned in what would happen if that went into effect. But essentially, this issue had to be elevated for all America to see. And that's what the president has done. He says we've got to get moving on jobs. We've got to put money into infrastructure. We need some relief for small businesses. And in order to that, we need to pay for it. And to pay for it means that there has to be shared participation.
I hear you, sir, and everyone who supports that part of it obviously agrees. I think the question is politically, though, can something get done in the next 14 months before the election? Can something get done that will avoid automatic cuts, which go, to sequestration?
I think the answer is yes.
How?
By, as I said, elevating this issue.
So you think that the Republicans are going to bow to public pressure?
Look, this is democracy, and the public, when the public speaks, very often people will listen. If we don't have a very clear expression from the public, then I think it lessens the chances. So the answer is, I think finding common ground will depend in substantial measure on the response of the public.
Now, let's say that this doesn't fall into place the way you're hoping or seeing that it will. Let's say the automatic cuts, the sequestration occurs. What would this mean for Michigan? How would these cuts affect your state?
I think it would have a rather substantial effect, even in defense spending cuts. But I think it would have effects other than that. And by the way, part of this whole effort that the president has proposed relates to unemployment insurance. And there's a very startling fact that needs to be faced up to by the Republicans and by the whole country. If we don't extend the federal program, which expires the end of the year, in January alone, 1 million people will lose their unemployment insurance, and by mid-February, it will be 2.5 million. That's the estimate. So there really is no option but action, but to create an atmosphere where there is no option but action, I think the president needed to make it very clear what's at stake and what he's proposed, and that's what he's done.
When do you think both sides will break down and dip into Medicare and Medicaid for savings? Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, in the president's overall proposal, there are some provisions relating to Medicare. They do not essentially undercut the program like the Republicans would. And so there are some savings there, but they're done in a way that doesn't basically undercut the program, while the Republicans would do just that. They really want to privatize Medicare. The president, he doesn't propose that at all.
Well, I want to move on to another subject that it must be on your radar screen as well. GM announcing it's moving its electric car production to China. Were you surprised that GM, which went through the whole government support and government bailout, is now announcing that it's moving production out of the United States to China? What do you make of that?
No, what they've done is to say that they're going to produce an electric car in China.
Why not in Michigan?
They are going to produce it. They're doing it right now. They're doing it right now, and they're going to continue to do so. And I think they're expanding production in Michigan. No. They're talking about producing an electric car in China. They're producing already hundreds of thousands of vehicles. And the Chinese have said to GM, you must transfer your technology, your energy, your electric technology, your cell technology. And as I understand, GM has refused to do that appropriately. We should not let the Chinese force us, in order to do business there, to transfer technology. It's unwise for us. It also violates their WTO obligations.
I want to ask you quickly about an op-ed, I believe was in the Wall Street Journal today, the leadership of House Republicans calling on Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke to do no more quantitative easing, no more monetary steps. They feel it's going to be overkill, potentially inflationary, too much. Do you support that view?
No. I mean, it's interesting. The Republicans are so extreme that they now try to undercut the Federal Reserve Chair, who was appointed by President Bush. Now, I don't know what the Republicans want to happen. We're going to now face a bill on the floor here I'm leaving to discuss, which would be an anti-jobs bill. And when the Federal Reserve tries to take steps to promote economic growth, the Republicans don't like that. So I think the public needs to understand we can't stand for that kind of over-politicization of Washington. And that's what the Republicans are doing.
Well, but some say that this proposal the president's put forward is politics because it won't get passed by the House.
No, it will be passed the only way it can be passed is being proposed and then promoted, pushed, and we're going to push it.
Okay. Do you see tax reform in the works, not only for corporations, but also for personal income tax?
One sec.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I just double-checked. I'm in the cloakroom, and I need to get to the floor to debate this bill that affects the industrial base of America. So you were asking...
I was just quickly about a tax overhaul. Do you see that happening, sir?
I think we'll discuss tax reform. I think it's unlikely to be able to do it broadly because of the immediate crisis in the economy and the need to address jobs. That has to be the number one priority.
But you don't think that some changes on the tax side, particularly for corporations, level the playing field, maybe get rid of some, the special loopholes people call them, might not stimulate some growth, some investment?
It depends how you do it. I'm in favor of looking at corporate taxation, but you have to be careful when you do that you don't eliminate the incentives for manufacturing in this country. And look, we've got to revive and strengthen the manufacturing base of the United States. The auto industry bounced back because we stepped, some of us, up to the plate here and said we needed a domestic auto industry. So yes, I think we need to look at corporate tax reform in a way that has some strong objectives, including a strengthened industrial manufacturing base in the U.S. We've got to make things in America.
Sir, I hope you'll come back and talk about that in particular. It's a big topic on this show. Manufacturing, possible renaissance, etc.
Anytime.
We'll let you get back to your real job. Thanks so much.
No, this is part of my real job. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. Congressman Levin, he is the ranking Democrat on the